Please approach the front of the room. We'll begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon to our audience, our esteemed panelists, my fellow teammates, and of course, our most worthy opposition. My name is Audrey, and I am the last speaker of the affirmative side. To remind you of our motion, my side of the House believes that teenagers would in fact make good diplomats. We have given strong points and arguments, while the opposition has a few holes in theirs. I will be restating the points that we made and that they made to ensure our dear panelists that teenagers would make good diplomats. My first speaker defined all the terms clearly, saying that a diplomat is an official that represents a nation and negotiates with others. He then stated the reasons why teenagers would be good diplomats, showing evidence that our minds can act as reasonable and mature as adults by the time we are 12 years old, and citing reliable sources. He got rid of the misconception that teenagers are reckless and indecisive, and clearly showed and talked even further about cognitive development, which only further strengthened our points. He proved that we have the mental capability to really represent a nation. The first speaker of the opposition claimed that what teenagers do is solely based on emotions. She said that we have so much to learn on representing a nation, and that we need respect and immersion, discipline, and an extensive education. We need more education on legal aspects and what our country fights for. And while that is true, my first and second speaker have clearly proved that teenagers themselves are capable and have enough education on the world around them to be going to programs like the World Scholars Cup itself and UN competitions that teach us so much about this. There are so many assumptions in their arguments that it makes it so hard to believe for us. My second speaker talked about how countries already believe that teenagers can make good diplomats. They have programs already set that can find and utilize these qualities inside us because they know that, as the motion says, we would make good diplomats. He went to the programs, the Model United Nations, where they discussed violence, social conflicts, and more. The Youth Southeast Asian Leadership Initiative and the Lyceum of the Philippines, and so much more give us opportunities which prove that we have potential to even go to ASEAN and discuss. The opposition's second speaker discussed how our brains only develop at 21. He said that because we only mentioned a minority of cases of students who are capable, it then invalidates our arguments. But we cannot name everyone in this room. We cannot name the people who are aware of things that are happening around us, because so many of us are capable. This program proves it. He said that any word can be used against you and can start wars. And while that is true, you can see that there are programs themselves that train us and teach us how to speak and what to say and what to do in a situation where we become diplomats. He mentioned how we have no knowledge of international affairs. But don't we? We have time on our hands that gives us even more time to learn and time to study. His points also contradict our evidence by Jean Piaget, how our mind can develop even at the young age of 12 years old. My third speaker discussed the age of open-mindedness, how nowadays teenagers' restored information is fresher and more focused on the world around us because we aren't busy with supporting an entire family or working extremely hard to do the business that the government wants us to do. We do not tolerate when our rights are taken away, and when something is astray from our comfort zone, we know what is wrong and we fight for what is right. She mentioned how our generation wants action to happen instantly, and we want things to happen now. And the governments around the world aren't set on that. Look at the Florida Parkland shooting. What is America doing about it? The government, thoughts and prayers. Meanwhile, the teenagers are out there screaming for their rights for their classmates who have died. And finally, the third speaker of the negative side has said that we made assumptions about their assumptions. But did we really? He also stated that we talk about teenagers in general, but can we send all adults in general as diplomats? He also said that the 30-year-old is around. But diplomats aren't military. Diplomats aren't the ones who engage in violence. You also repeated your other assumption that all teenagers use social media. You know in your heart that we are capable. You know in your heart that teenagers are the future. Teenagers are strong, and ageism is a problematic assumption. We're not here for assumption. We're here for facts. And if you believe in that as much as we do, you would side with the affirmative team, which has the strongest points and the most evidence. And join us in believing that teenagers would make good diplomats. Thank you.